I'm back, baby. You didn't know I left, but I'm back, so don't worry. Adam Pecora here, and this is Requiem for a Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the stuff. Check it out. Give me a follow. Share this episode. Share all the good episodes with your friends. Go back through the list. Check out some oldies. We got a lot of topics, a lot of stuff. Hopefully you've seen something by now. Music, multiplex, Wolfx, you know the drill. Check the links in the description below for all the goodies. We got merch at rfat.bigcartel.com as well. Now, I don't know about you. Okay. I was going to try to keep it up, but I decided to not. So, I'm here off the Iced Americano, going strong. It's slowly coursing through, so the energy will be coming. There it is. So, your boy was just in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't have too much to say there other than... flew out on Wednesday morning, came back Sunday morning. Sunday was the hottest day in the history of Las Vegas, so I narrowly missed that. However, it was, 2 degrees warmer than the day before. So I pretty much get what the hottest possible experience in Las Vegas could be. And I do have to say, the rumors are untrue in that, I hate this fucking phrase. It's a dry heat. You'll be fine. Incorrect, which I knew right away, no matter what anybody said about anything like that, that's just not correct. However, I will say the proper way to explain it to somebody is to say that it is substantially more tolerable given your perception of heat. By 11 a.m. it's 95 degrees. 95 degrees in Chicago is unbelievably just painful to deal with. And you feel, obviously, it is hot, but humidity is really what does it, ladies and gentlemen. You got to have the sunscreen. If there weren't 100,000 casinos filled with air conditioning also, would be a lot less easy to deal with. I couldn't live there or anything like that, what people are saying. However, my point is just 100 is different in different places, and I could do $115 there. You can't walk for more than 20 minutes at a time, no matter what. You're just you're just like an ant under a magnifying glass the whole time. You just really feel it beating down, not a cloud in the sky. Yeah, I don't know. It's the dry heat thing. Just shut the fuck up with that. You don't need to say that every time. Because it's just not true. People are like, you don't sweat. You don't sweat. It's 100 degrees. You're going to sweat. That's just absurd, no matter what. But no, it is less intense. Humidity's really, really not good. But you know what else is good? Water. So, you got to pick one, I guess. Anyway, upon returning, we're going to get into movies in a second here, don't worry. Upon returning from the airport, get to my neighborhood, there's a block party. I've lived here for, 6 years, this exact apartment. There has not been remotely anything close to this. There's been a lot of huge deep Mexican bangers I don't know why I said deep. Like, they're deep in like, a lot of people are there. You understand? Anyway, a lot of those in the neighborhood, no invite ever. But it's like full bands. In fact, a couple weeks ago, there was got full band on somebody's back porch. No invite. Terrible. DJs. I don't know what the occasions are. They seem to be at random times throughout the summers. Very loud music. I'm fine with all of it. I want the invite is the point. Don't get one. All of a sudden, there's a block party. I find out that it's from like 1 to 7. Had no idea this was happening. We pulled up at like 2 o'clock. Go get some food. Come back. And as we're getting food, it starts to rain. You check the weather app. Not supposed to rain at all today. Oh, that's annoying. Whatever. Oh, it'll stop in 10 minutes. Then 10 minutes later, it's like, it stopped, but it's going to start again. And then that cycle basically just kept looping, and it rained for about 4.5 straight hours. At one point, it was like pouring substantially to where my street doesn't even flood, and it is flooded. There are huge puddles outside. So a very unexpected heavy rain. And I kept peeking out the window like, I want this to be a thing. I want this to be fun. Let's enjoy the neighborhood a little bit. The street's closed. Let's party, And, there seemed to be a lot of effort put in. There were tents out, games out, grills out, multiple setups throughout the block, tents. A lot of seating and stuff. Seems like somebody really put the effort in, and it just did not stop. And I would keep peeking out the window, and there'd be people there like huddled under umbrellas, like really trying to wait it out. And it never stopped. And then I woke up from a nap, and it had stopped, but it was over, and everybody was gone, and everything was put away. And I don't know, maybe the rain had let up an hour or two earlier, and people got some fun in there, but I don't think so. And now, why am I saying all this? I just want to point out how much that makes me sad. Nothing makes me more sad than somebody or even a group of people, whatever. It's just like, nothing makes me more sad than good intentions, like innocent, well-intentioned acts or whatever that don't come to fruition and likely disappoint someone. Does that make any sense? Basically, I don't like when good people try to do good things and they just get shit. It just really affects me inside, and I can't help it. It's embarrassing, kinda. I mean, there's a block party and it rained. Like, that sucks. But to me, it's like, wow, that's devastating. Like, somebody put in all the effort for all that, and then it rained out and nobody came out. And here's the thing. I'm kind of glad that it rained out, though, because what if just nobody came out? I would have came out eventually, but they don't know that. It looked like I wasn't gonna. People kept looking at me when I went to go get beer, I was going to bring it out, not to share, but to mingle. Anyway, when we pulled up at 2, there was nobody outside. So that's what just led me down the rabbit hole of like, oh no, this is a disaster. But it was pouring and people tried, and that, that just makes me even more sad. So I don't know. Enjoy that pointless story about the block party. But like an old lady tries to get a gift for somebody, but it's the wrong thing and they don't appreciate it. I don't know, just like shit like that. Just somebody who just like means really well. Like a lady from a church is like trying to hand out stuff to kids, and then one of the kids is like, "You're a fucking bitch," or whatever. You just misread your audience. Like, I wish I could do something good for the community. But, like, the community hates you just because everybody's a broken, godless, like, these kids. Find God. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that's all projecting. But, hope we get to try it again, neighborhood. And, yeah, I don't know. The potential of what could have been just really gets under my skin. I'm not going to let it go either. I'm going to keep feeling really sad and bad about it. Because it's like we tried to do it once and then that's just it. And it's like, God damn it. There was so much stuff out there. Would people have come if it wasn't raining? I really hope so. Okay, so long-winded way of getting to the point of your boy was out of town. So all I have for you is some airplane flicks, which American Airlines doesn't even bother to provide the screens. They make you just use your phone, which whatever. I mean, the last flight I was on, the screen was smaller than my phone probably. But I mean, you make me like, you have to pay extra to use Wi-Fi outside of like their movie selection, basically. But I'm using my phone. So like, thank you for offering the movies, but like, you can't just use the internet. It just doesn't make any sense. So there's enough Wi-Fi that, in theory, 120 people on this flight could all stream a movie. But God forbid somebody goes on like ESPN to check a score. I don't get that at all. Anyway, first up is Snack Shack. I have been trying to see this I don't know when or how I saw the trailer. It seems unlikely that it would have been in theaters, but I feel like it was. Anyway, I don't know. I saw this trailer months and months and months ago, and I was into it right away. Essentially, the story is a couple kids run a little snack kiosk thing at the local community pool. And the trailer kind of made it out to be like, coming of age, whatever, in the summer, whatever. It kind of made it seem more of like, here's a bunch of kids getting into like rehabbing a business. And I don't know. I guess I thought it would be more about like the transformation of a rundown thing that nobody wants into a good business. And it's not really that. And that's all right. This movie was awesome and a lot of fun. The kid from The Fabelmans is in it, Gabriel LaBelle, and he is phenomenal. Kind of steals the movie. Really is pretty much the only recognizable person in here outside of the protagonist's dad, who is Gale from Breaking Bad, David whatever Constable. I only remember because that name is. I love a name that's a word. Anyway. Outside of that, I don't think there's one like known actor in the movie other than those two. Could be a little off on that, but whatever. Gabriel Bell's electric in this, and the kid's got a lot of potential. But I mean, a lot of that potential is realized. This is a really fun movie. It shoots out of a cannon from the beginning, where basically these two kids are at the dog track. And so they live in Nebraska City, Nebraska. Never heard of it. It's right over the border because everything is right over the border. I don't think anybody lives in western Nebraska. I think I've said this. Did I talk about this on this show recently? Feels like I've said this. I don't know. The Americano is in full force right now, and my heart may explode before I finish. But yeah, Omaha, Lincoln, and then apparently Nebraska City's nearby, and the whole rest of the state is cows. I don't know what the fuck's going on over there, and I don't want to find out, really. It's just a terrible place. So anyway, they go over to the Iowa dog track because they're right by the border. They sneak their way back, but somebody caught them somehow, whatever. They're ripping cigs, betting on dogs. And they pretty much reveal that they're using the money that they make off of betting on dogs to buy supplies to brew their own beer, which they're then selling to kids at parties. Now, this movie is set in 1991, which pretty much makes all of these things doable and would enable children to not be caught doing such crazy things. Now, I've read that the movie is somewhat semi-autobiographical. The note that I have the most is they made these kids 14. They don't really look 14. And I would say it's just too young for them to be this skilled. To be able to fake all this stuff and be business savvy. There's a lot of like rapid fire dialogue and a lot of jokes, and they fight each other, but it's friendly and whatever. And they're two best friends, and that's great. The main kid's parents are very strict. They kind of find out, they know he's been fucking up and he just keeps fucking up. They know he's smoking cigs and shit. And now here's the thing about this movie is that 1990 in Nebraska, drinking, less of a big deal. Smoking cigs, less of a big deal. Now, they get mad. But it's not like drastic. I mean, frankly, they don't really... They're very strict, but they don't get that intense with it. It's not like they're whipping this kid or something. But I will say, like, if you're smoking cigs at 14, I think it would be a lot more serious today if you were to be caught doing that. That's what I can say at the least. Anyway, so they thought they were going to make all this money off this beer. Also, 14, I couldn't brew beer now, and I have worked in a brewery. And I don't know how to brew beer still. So the fact that these kids could figure it, now you're 14, in the 90s, you got all this time on your hands? Maybe. I don't know. But I think you make the kids fucking 16, 17, at least then it's like, oh, okay, like they figured things out in high school a little bit. These kids are like going into freshman year, I believe, is the thing. So, they have an older friend who was like in the Gulf War and just got home or whatever. And so he's a lifeguard at the local pool for the summer. And he lets them know that the little snack shop is basically up for lease. Vendors have to like apply to get in. And they find out it's like a completely independent business. So if you're able to get the lease, like you just do your own thing and nobody bothers you. Essentially, they try to find out what they would need to bid in order to get it. They overassume. I would say this part is done for comedy, but it's too much, where the actual bid that was up was $300 and they bid $3,000. Now, $3,000 in 1991 is a lot of money. But $300 is also not a lot of money. And, you know, I guess it should lie somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't know. Maybe it should have been $500 and they bid $1,500, and that would be pretty crazy. Whatever. So they get the bid, and here's my reasoning. Well, I'll get there. They fix up the shop, but they do it like really quickly. Like I said, I thought there was going to be like at least a good montage. But essentially, Gabriel LaBelle's character's name is Moose. He's more of the like, I can do anything type guy. Like, I got it all figured out. And his friend, who is more of the main character of the movie, he's like on board with all this stuff, but he's not as much of a scheme guy. Whereas Moose is just a scheme. He just wants new schemes on top of schemes to, you know, like eventually tie it back together. And the other kid's more of like, hey, we just emptied our fucking savings. Like, I need to start making money. And he's kind of like, we need to keep investing in the business. So they just kind of keep adding, like, oh, all of a sudden there's a fridge, but it's like, where'd that come from? They just kind of explain it away. I guess my point is I thought more of that would be shown in the movie. It's not. They kind of turn the shop around in like a couple days. They clean it up. It was disgusting. And I'm guessing what they're kind of trying to say is that nobody would ever clean the place up or get new things for it. So it kind of never really did that well, I guess is the assumption. But they open it up and make most of their money back in one day. So leading all the way back to it should cost way more to lease that out for the summer, just based on what it makes. Now, are they trying to show that it's making more because these kids put in more effort? My argument against that is that it doesn't really seem like they're putting in that much effort. They just kind of cleaned it up and then, or like they found vendors and ordered stuff, which is just how you do that. So it doesn't really make sense in that, oh, you just buy a fridge and a microwave and that's all you need to do to fix this whole thing? So I don't know. Point is, they make their money back. It ended up being worth it somehow. The money doesn't add up very well. Meanwhile, as this is happening, I left some things out. There's a back and forth storyline here. Plotway. I don't know where that came from. So also next door to the main character, the cute girl moves in and it becomes a love triangle of sorts. Very reminiscent of, the early days when girls are first a thing, it does feel like that, like a summer where anything is possible in your mind and you don't know where the night might take you and blah, blah, blah. But the kid's a pussy like I was and does not do anything about it. Which very relatable. And then his buddy is like, oh, she's pretty cool. I'm going to ask her out. Also relatable. Have your buddy swoop in. And yeah, the back and forth just happens. The older army vet friend is like, hey man, she's pretty clearly into you. Like, you should just like do something about it instead of being a bitch. And then he does, but then the other friend is a bitch. And I get it. This is where the age kind of makes sense. Like, they're both 14. They especially wouldn't understand anything like that. But my only argument is that, like, Moose is, like, the aloof guy who doesn't really give a shit. And even though he asks out his boy, like, the girl his boy's interested in, he's still, like, looking out for him and all that shit. So, I don't know. Kind of weird. A little uneven as to how that would play out. Like, I don't know if the characters would all necessarily act that way. And then they get into a fight. They don't really make up. The girl has to leave because she was only there for the summer because her dad's in the army or something, whatever. Then there's the main character is about to, like, get the girl, finally win. And then the dad just comes in and he's like, oh, by the way, your friend is dead. And they did kind of allude to him, like, recklessly driving away at times. And then he gets into, like, a car accident. And they were drinking and driving. But like I said, it was the 90s, that everybody was just drinking. And it was way less of a thing. So very strange the way that it all goes. But I was very into this. It had almost like an early Wes Anderson tone, but funnier, more broad. It's like Superbad made by Wes Anderson, kind of. This movie, I don't know. But it's like a smaller town, countryer version in the past, younger. I don't know. But these kids are awesome, and it was fun and, pretty funny overall. And I will say, the thing you hear about crying on planes, it is a lot easier to cry on a plane, because I was crying during Snack Shack when they reveal that his friend died. The emotions just hit and the tears just fall right out. So that is a true statement there. Can confirm that I cried during Snack Shack. I don't know why this isn't streaming or how this was released or whatever the plan was. I feel like this would be the number one or at least top 10 movie on Netflix if it dropped, Hulu, whatever the case may be. This movie's super fun and really good, to be honest. Like, it's a lot better than it has any business being, and I would certainly watch it again. So I really hope that this movie doesn't like fall into the ether of just, and nobody sees this. Really deserves a watch. It deserves to be seen. It deserves, I don't know. Somehow it's free on the airplane, but you can't really watch it anywhere else. It is available to rent, which I had almost done multiple times. And then, saw it on the plane. I was like, fuck yeah, finally going to check this out. So yeah, if you're willing to pay, you should be, and you should do it. Watch it. Look for it to come out on streaming at some point, though. Please don't let this movie die. Again, I saw the trailer and was into it right away, but even still on top of that was a very pleasant surprise. So go watch Snack Shack, and then we'll move on to the ride home. So, on the plane ride there, just watched the one movie. Could have started a second one, but whatever. On the way back, decided to watch Bottoms. Now, heard some good things about Bottoms. It's supposed to be, it's so funny. So funny. Not very funny. Let's be honest. My problem with this movie is it doesn't lean into what it is doing ever. So it's like almost a parody. It's like almost surrealist, and it's like almost an actual like teen comedy. But it's none of them actually, and none of it really works that well because of that. So it's like, am I supposed to think that everything here is way over the top and unrealistic, or is some of this supposed to like be genuine in any way? Is all of it supposed to be fucking done? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it revolves around, again, I don't pronounce her name correctly, I'm pretty confident, but Ayo Edebiri. And what is this other bitch's name? I like her. Hold on, I need to look her up. I always forget her name, unfortunately. She's very talented, though. As you can hear me fucking spamming it. Right. Rachel Sennott. She was very good in The Idol, underrated show. Bodies. She was good in Bodies, although I didn't really care for that movie. But shout out The Idol for sure. So anyway, she co-wrote this movie, I believe, along with the director. Wouldn't surprise me if Edebiri was involved. She's a very talented lady as well. They star as two lesbian virgins, which I would say right away at that point, would you not hook up? I don't know. Again, this is the thing. Any criticism you have of this movie, you could be like, well, it's a satire, so you don't get it. And it's like, well, but that's my problem, is that it doesn't commit to being a satire of teen movies enough, because it tries to be one and a satire at the same time, but it's not. It's just not Mean Girls. Like, I don't know what to say other than that. Like, it's not similar to Mean Girls. I guess my point is just like Mean Girls did it successfully, like the satire while also being one at the same time. So anyway, they both basically really want to get laid, and they have their like dream girls in mind, and it's somehow they have like kind of friends, but not really friends, and one of the girls basically doesn't listen to them talk, and then they offhandedly say like, haha, yeah, we were in juvie. And then that ends up being like spread around for some reason. And they're kind of just like, yeah, whatever. Like, we can just let that be a thing. Because who cares if people think that? Whatever. And that somehow turns into like, we should start a self-defense club. Well, okay. So Edibiri's character likes one chick who's dating the star quarterback, and they're at like a summer end of school like festival thing. And she like love taps the quarterback with his car, and he like super fakes the injury or whatever. And so the rumor starts that they went to juvie for that because, you know, it's high school, so it gets embellished what actually happened and that they like assaulted him or whatever. So the new school year starts, and they're like, we should start a self-defense club now that everyone thinks we're tough and got into fights and like beat up the quarterback and all that stuff. Like, we can empower people like us. And Marshawn Lynch, legendary running back, is in this movie, and he's very funny. I think he has a future in doing this. Not that he has been doing it slightly already, but I think that this was a good, large role for him, and, you know, he mostly nails it. There's some moments where he's clearly just kind of reading the line or whatever, but athletes tend to act pretty well because they know how to prepare for stuff. So at the very least, they're ready, even if the ability isn't there. So I like that. I love Marshawn Lynch. I always have. And look, the movie just... I love the satirical elements of the football players who are always wearing full pads and uniforms. And they're overly evil and ridiculous and stupid. And there's no real reason for them to be antagonistic towards anybody. And all of that. And like all the stuff they did with that was very... clearly the satire, like so on the nose, so heavy-handed that it's almost like absurd. Like, that's what I was trying to say, where it's like a surreal thing. Like, they're leaning so heavy into that bit that you can't deny it, you can't miss it. It's very clearly ironic right in your face. And then there's some good jokes about Fight Club and stuff that happen, but my problem is then they go to the quote-unquote self-defense club. None of them learn how to fight ever at any point, and none of them know how to fight ever at any point. But then it just turns into terrorism or whatever. Like, it just... Basically, the quarterback then bangs one of the chick's moms, and they try to get him back, so she blows up his car. I don't know, man. It's just so uneven and weird. None of them actually learn how to fight. And then at the end, there's like a big fight, and they're all really good at it. But there's not enough time spent in that actually happening. Like, the through line of the movie is like, girls start a fight club. And that sounds really fun and exciting. And, like, there's a lot of potential there for comedy. Now, maybe this is just me watching it on a plane. But instead, it's like, okay, we're going to say what's happening in the movie instead of show you what's happening in the movie. So I don't know. The laughs just weren't really there for me. And then all of a sudden, they're at, like... I don't know, man. The story just isn't there. Everything just seems pretty arbitrary as to what happens. So, like, they somehow get popular for starting this club, which doesn't make any sense. And then the popular kid, and I get it. Again, you could say it's a satire. Of course this wouldn't happen. But this is also what happens in every high school movie. So, like, it's never believable that a popular kid and a nerd would be a thing. Like, that just doesn't happen. I understand that that's the fun irony, especially, like, you know, popular chick leaves the quarterback for a loser girl who started a fight club, whatever. It's not supposed to be that believable. You know what I mean? I guess. Anyway, so my point is, they blow up the guy's car. They were supposed to just be like toilet papering his house. And then that's crazy. But like just nothing really comes of that other than the football players get mad. And so the football players, instead, they just want the club to end, but the girls insist that it stay. Well, one of them does. Then they get into a fight. And the chick whose mom the quarterback was banging gets really upset. And anyway, they make her fight some guy at a pep rally thing, and that's kind of funny, and the whole pep rally is funny, and the irony of the football. Again, all the football stuff is so turned up, where they're like, oh, we're going to murder them, like literally, and so all the girls are learning self-defense for all that, and that's fun and whatever. And then they have some dude just like brawl this chick in the middle of the floor at the thing, and that's hilarious. But then, like, the drama between them is just very, like, normal and regular. So that's why it doesn't work for me. Like, the girls are mad at each other because of, like, a petty fight talking shit to each other. But then, like, this absurd thing happens and we're supposed to, like, go back from that. And that's just why I don't like it. Like, they're mad at each other because they're caught up in a lie. But it's like everything in this is so ridiculous already that it's like, why is there any emotional weight to anything anyone does ever? It just seems like they pick and choose when something someone says sticks and when it's just a throwaway joke. And there's not really any clear indication as to what might be what. So then after she gets the shit kicked out of her in the assembly, which was funny, they basically... Then they discover that someone from the rival school will literally kill someone, and all the girls have to band back together as the fight club and save everyone. And they pretty much just discover that, like, one of the characters on their team is allergic to pineapple, the main character, and they replace the sprinklers with pineapple juice, and that's going to kill him because they want to kill a player every time, rivalry-wise, and that's the thing, whatever. And then the girls all save the guy by punching all the football players. And again, like, everything I'm saying I know is ridiculous, but, like, it comes from nothing. Why would they help this guy? For what reason? Let them kill him. Who cares? The whole thing is absurd. You know what I'm saying? Like, the stakes are made up. They get away with all this crazy shit anyway, so what's the difference? Let the guy die. They all hate him, like. But in the end, they're essentially like, the losers have finally persevered. Like in all the other movies. See? But it's just like, well, if the whole thing is nonsense, then what's the point of having any emotional arc at all? Maybe I'm way overthinking this, or maybe it's just not good on a plane. Like, the movie moves really well and really quickly, and it goes by fast, and the editing's good and all that, but I don't know what to tell you. The jokes just weren't there for me. Both of these movies, though, that I've mentioned had good music. Charlie XCX actually did the music for Bottoms. And really good drum stuff in Snack Shack. I don't know how else to word that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I missed something about this. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I just had different expectations about how it was going to go. Like, oh, this is like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I thought that it was going to be more traditional in that it was going to be like, oh, this is American Pie, but for lesbians, or this is Superbad for lesbians, whatever the case may be. which is technically how it presents itself, but then also with a parody element to it. And I know I just said the same thing 10 times, but it can't be both. It can't be both. Or it can, but it doesn't work as both in this case. And so that just threw me off. It just felt like the movie really didn't know what it wanted to be. So, hot take coming in once again. This Americano is eating me alive also. So, maybe that's why. Maybe I shouldn't do so much espresso at home. But this is where we're at. I tried to start, so I started the movie too late on the way back, and then I was going to start Anyone But You, which was a huge hit, that rom-com with Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell. Love Glenn Powell. Who doesn't love Sydney Sweeney, am I right, fellas? Unwatchable. Really, really bad. Every sentence that someone says is just exposition. There is nothing actually happens in this movie. Everybody just says what they're going to do or what the context is. People walk into a room and they're like, hey, Billy, it's me, your best friend Tony, since we were 7. Like, it's just really crazy. It completely matches the tone and energy of, like, You've Got Mail, though. It really is like a throwback rom-com in that way. Got about 40 minutes in. The flight still had like a half hour left, and I was like, you know what? I think we're just going to call it quits on this one. Really, really just painfully corny, unwatchable movie. Like, Bottom's 1,000,000% better than this thing. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not recommending Bottoms, just for the record, but I'm not saying, like, don't watch this. This is terrible. Just didn't work for me. Just to clarify. Whereas Anyone But You, I can defiantly say without having finished it, don't fucking watch it, man. It's shit. I didn't even read the rest of the plot because I'm not that interested. I probably will after this just to know what happened. I don't know how there was an hour left for that thing. It took 25 minutes to set up the whole movie, and then they were still setting up more stuff as it was going, and they wouldn't just let it flow. And the jokes just weren't that's a shit movie, so don't watch that. So yeah, those were my plane movies. I'll try to watch things here on the ground in this next week, and next episode we'll have some more carefully chosen options for you to talk about. Like I said, I am happy I got to watch Snack Shack. That was going to be on this show when I watched it either way, so I'm glad that kind of worked out. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, wherever you don't. Do it there, too. Let's get these numbers up. Share this episode. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Excuse me. Check out all the links in the description below. We got lots of goodies for you. Go back, listen to The Bear. Have you watched The Bear Season 3 yet? Why haven't you? And if you have, why haven't you listened to the RFAT? And if you have, thank you. But watch The Bear Season 3. Listen to my 2-hour extravaganza with my boy Chef Juice. Justice was here. He had some real hot takes on the season. So go listen to that episode. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I think that's all we got. So listen to the music. Oh, I smell garlic. Go watch Snack Shack. Go watch The Bear. Listen to these fucking episodes. Share them. You get the gist. God, this shit is just coursing through my veins. I really feel the power. I'm going to kick a fucking door down right when I stop recording this. All right, I'm going to let you go. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're listening, let's get those numbers up. Share it. Get the word out. And yeah, remember, RFAT. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.